friends, my name is Mark Johnston. If this is your first time here, this is a YouTube channel where we do gear demos and reviews, as well as studio tips and tricks for leveling up your writing, playing, and production from the perspective of a guitar player working out of a home studio. If that's the kind of thing that you'd be into, I would love it if you hit that subscribe button and stick around for future videos. Today, we are taking a look at and installing the brand new Belrok bridge system. Anybody who's been around this channel for any amount of time will probably recognize this guitar. This is my Bunting Melody Queen, and it is one of my favorite instruments. This is an offset body with Telecaster electronics and a mastery bridge with a descendant vibrato here at the base. And this guitar has been one of my daily drivers for a couple of years now. I love it dearly. And this guitar was entirely handcrafted by the folks over at Bunting Guitars. And this is my Johnny Marr signature Jaguar, a guitar I've had for years now that I adore, but find myself kind of always fighting with in little ways. The main one being the bare knuckle pickups in here are bright on a level where I find that my tone control is always at about the halfway point. It's the only way I can kind of tame this thing down to give it the kind of body and character that I kind of want out of this thing. I've been debating swapping the pickups out for some time now, but then Yaniv reached out to me and let me know that he was working on a new bridge system with his new company, Belrok, and asked me if there was a guitar I'd be curious to try it out in. This is what came to mind. So let's take a closer look at the Belrok and what it comes with. This is the tin that the Belrok bridge ships in with the model name on one side and the bridge radius on the other. It's important if you are buying a bridge from Belrok because these are not adjustable width bridges on their own. You need to buy the correct radius. So for my Johnny Marr, we have a 7.25 inch radius. Opening it up, you will see that you have the bridge itself. You have a piece of paper with the Belrok logo on it that basically doubles as a holder for the 3 Allen keys that you need to set up and adjust the bridge itself. And then you have your instructions with my one little handwritten note at the bottom, which we will make a note of as we get into setting this thing up. And these instructions are basically everything you need to understand how to install and set up the bridge. So let's take a closer look at the anatomy of the Belrok bridge itself. As you can tell, it's a very simple design with some quirks to it. You have fixed radius distance between all of your saddles. These top 2 saddles are made with cold rolled steel, not stainless steel, which means they are vulnerable to rust. But in talking with Yaniv, the reason for going with cold rolled steel on the top here is twofold. One, it is an homage to original Telecaster bridges made with cold rolled steel as well. And number 2 is the incredibly hard cold rolled steel, harder than stainless, just won out in tonal comparisons for the team over there when developing this bridge. On the other side here, you have the bridge plate itself, the base, and the posts that go into the guitar. These are conversely all stainless steel. So you have hard rolled steel on the top and you have stainless steel on the base. But you can also tell there is this other thing here, and this is a removable rosewood veneer. So this bridge can be used with or without that rosewood. The idea being that without it, you have a ton of energy transference from the strings directly to the body because this is just a heftier piece of metal with a lot of contact points across the entire design. Something that should give you more body and sustain than like the old school Mustang bridges that Jazzmasters and Jaguars sometimes come with. Or you can use that veneer for reduced sustain and a warmer tone. So I'll be excited to kind of get this thing installed and compare and contrast the two. And like I said, we have 3 Allen keys right here that the Belrok comes with. And this is going to be how you assemble and disassemble the bridge itself, as well as how you set up the action and intonation on this thing. The narrowest key right here is going to drop all the way through these posts and is going to be used to raise and lower the height of the bridge with that internal threading right there. This middle-sized key is going to lighten up and tighten the center screw right here that is going to allow you to swing the arms of the inside of this bridge back and forth. And then the largest key is going to loosen the outer posts right here. And that post will allow you to disassemble this entire bridge with that center screw in order to add or remove the rosewood veneer, as well as you can see, being able to move the entire bridge forward and back. So that is going to be how you intonate the bridge itself. So looking very carefully on this bridge, one thing worth noting is you can tell kind of what side of the bridge should be your low E and your high E based on the thickness of these cuts along the way. But worth noting that if you look very carefully, up here, you'll see a small divot on the inside right there. And that denotes that this is the bottom side of the bridge, which is where your high E should be. Your low E should be on the other side where there is no like demarcation like you see right there. If we can get that in the light. There you go, right there. Right there. So for completion's sake, before we get into installing the bridge, let's just go ahead and disassemble the entire thing to showcase kind of what a simple process this actually is. So we're going to start by taking the medium Allen key and unthreading this center post right here, the center screw. Take that out, put it aside. Take the heaviest Allen key, or at this point, because it's out of the body, we just unscrew from the bottom, and you can take each of these posts out. And now each piece of this bridge just falls out of the body. We're just going to let everything kind of tumble all over the place and assume that we're going to be fine. You can remove that wood veneer, and now you just have this piece of stainless steel with a very, very lightly etched Belrok logo right there that you can only see in perfect lighting on camera. From there, we're going to go ahead and add both of our bridge components back onto the piece of metal. And thread the posts back on. And move them both out of the way so that we can get the threading started on this center screw right here, and then we'll move them back into place. Move those back under. And now let's just lightly thread that just so that it's holding the bridge in place a little bit. And just like that, the Belrok is ready to be installed without the wood veneer. So let's go ahead and install the Belrok bridge. I'm not somebody who tends to work on my own guitars, and I brought in a friend and collaborator to help with final action and intonation. But I wanted to showcase the fact that the Belrok bridge is so simple to install that even I could do it with relatively little tools. All we have to do is remove the existing strings and lift the old bridge out of its posts. From there, the Belrok slots directly in, you bring it up to height and restring the guitar before getting to action and intonation. So you've probably seen this guy on the channel before. This is Def from Santiago. I had him in playing on the Universal Audio Knuckles release video a few weeks back. If you don't know him, I'm going to link to his Instagram down below. Not only is he a killer guitar player as demonstrated in that video, but he's also the only person, myself included, who reliably works on any of my instruments. I went ahead in this video and, as you saw, swapped out the bridge itself, spent a little bit of time getting the action and intonation dialed, and realized very quickly that I'm better off calling in a professional for that stuff. So he's going to kind of walk me through that process and work on the guitar so that I can start doing that myself. So what are we doing today?
We're swapping out a bridge on your Jag. I think you did.
I've done that. That part's done. So before you walk me through this, here's I think the $1 million question. I clearly don't work on my own guitars. You've known me long enough, and you've worked on enough of my guitars now to know that I'm afraid of doing anything to my guitar. Is swapping out a bridge like this, not a Floyd Rose, not a floating Mustang or a floating Strat bridge, that kind of thing, is swapping out a bridge system like this in a greater offset trem system something that you need to bring in a professional to do, or something that you should be able to do yourself?
It depends. I would say no, you don't need a professional because you're trading out a part on the guitar that's already, you're not installing anything. So I think the side of it that gets tricky is getting the feel right after you've traded bridges, because it's not just your intonation or it's your bridge height. The feel of the guitar gets all wonky. The strings going over the bridge are going to affect the way the neck relief is, which we talked about quite a bit. So do you need a professional? Probably not, but it is it's more efficient to bring to bring in somebody that's been doing it a lot.
And hopefully, if I'm as good an editor as I am not, but while you're saying this, we should be seeing some B-roll of you working on the guitar right now and everything. And so it seems like our game plan today is to basically set action first, check the relief of the neck, whether it's flat or slightly concave, never convex.
Right, of course.
And then from there, basically get the bridge height to where you want it to be, and then set the intonation. And the nice thing about this bridge, and I'm in my time messing with it and trying to get it dialed, and I got it pretty close before I called you in. The nice thing about this bridge is you basically have 3 movement points. It's almost like a split version of the wraparound bridge that Paul Reed Smith developed that has no intonation changes. It's just a set and forget bridge with total perfection every time. But those are obviously proprietary for a specific guitar. For something like this, we have 3 points of adjustment for the intonation, the 2 side posts and the center screw. So effectively, you really only have to intonate for 4 strings, with the 2nd and 5th strings being perfectly intonated if your 1st and 3rd and your 4th and 6th are intonated, correct?
Correct, yeah. And just as a disclaimer, you mentioned PRS, you mentioned their original, wraparound bridge, which your PRS has that awesome bridge. And it's really important to note that bridge was developed for that guitar with the, he's got a 25-inch scale length, whatever. This bridge is meant to swap out on a Jag. So that could be an aftermarket Jaguar, it could be a Fender, it could be a vintage, it could be a modern, it could be one of
the only thing you have to have right on these bridges is your radius. These are fixed radius bridges, but beyond that, your action and your intonation, all that stuff is to taste and to the guitar specifically.
Right, and that's why you've got those different points of movement, is to accommodate for the different styles, guitars or scale lengths, or even the string gauge. You've got some heavier strings on your guitar. That's always going to mess with the way that those different points move around, and that's why they're adjustable. And as we mentioned earlier, we were talking off camera, if you look at an acoustic guitar, the acoustic guitar bridge is not intonatable. It's set, it's preset, because that's the bridge that goes with that guitar.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I could just do myself with the reps, but for the purposes of getting it totally dialed for recording here, and for the purposes of getting a actual expert to come in and talk on this, because otherwise it's just me giving kind of vibes based input on this bridge. I appreciate you coming in and working on the guitar, as well as giving some insight on kind of what goes into working on a guitar like this. So
for sure.
Once again, Def from Santiago, links to his social stuff down below. Go check him out. If you're in the Sacramento area, he is the only person I recommend you hire to work on your instruments as well. I want to give one more huge thank you to my friend Def for coming in and helping with this video. Let's get to some sound samples. We went ahead and got very similar sounds and tones across all 3 iterations of the Johnny Marr Jag. We recorded the stock bridge, the wood veneer bridge, and the cold rolled steel bridge. Everything is recorded into my Morgan Amps PR12, and we are going to structure it so that you hear the stock bridge, the cold rolled steel, and the wood veneer in order, back to back, for each of these sets of tones. Listening back to those sound samples, I actually find myself surprised by how subtle the difference between each of those is. I can definitely hear a difference in those three different configurations tonally, but as I was recording them along the way, I recall hearing much more aggressive differences, feeling like I was playing a much more different instrument in all three of those things. And that is one of the kind of foundational limitations of reviewing something like hardware swaps on a guitar on the internet. There is a experience in playing the instrument that is lost when just listening back. And that was even the case for me editing this video right now. So to the best I'm able to, I can give my kind of like op-ed on the playability of this bridge. I think that this thing has very, very positively changed my relationship with the Johnny Marr Jag. I have left it in the cold rolled steel no wood veneer configuration. I still have the veneer. It is still in the case that the bridge came in, and I have it close at hand in case I want to use it for anything. But I found that at the end of everything, the high level of contact, the high level of metal on metal gives me really good kind of energy transference for my pickups. It makes this guitar feel like a more bolstered, a higher sustain, a beefier instrument than it otherwise would be. And when it comes to the writing and recording and performing aspects of this guitar, it's a welcome change. I do also think that especially in those higher gain sounds, you get a little bit more kind of tonal clarity, you get a little bit more sustain out of your overdrives and your distortions. And to that end, I'm very happy with the bridge change out as well, especially for an instrument like the Johnny Marr Jag that didn't necessarily need a new bridge system. The stock Fender bridge that it came with, the kind of classic roller bridge versus the vintage Mustang saddles that so many of these instruments come with that do need to be changed out, was not screaming for an update, but Nevertheless, it is a very welcome one. And at the end of this, I'm probably going to hit up Yaniv for at least one more of these bridges for my Squier Jazzmaster, which does need an upgrade like this. And I'm very excited to showcase the before and after of that one as well. So all that to say, there are some really strong options on the market right now for offset bridges for guitars with that floating trem system. The Bunting I have does not have a Belrok on it because it predates the Belroks, and I have a Mastery bridge on that, and I'm quite happy with that. But comparing and contrasting that against this, I really do appreciate the visual simplicity of the Belrok. I really appreciate how much more energy the Jag feels like it has because of it. And I do think that if you're in a position where you are looking for a bridge system that is easy to set up, easy to work on, easy to intonate, that will give you a little bit more clarity, a little bit more sustain, if that's the kind of thing that you feel you're lacking in your offset. This is a worthwhile consideration. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.